This is going to be the only CV video that you are going to need in a very long time. In this video, you're going to learn the delusional ways to optimize your CV, like the most audacious ways to optimize your CV. You're going to learn a step-by-step process of creating the best CV. And at the end, there's going to be a link to purchase my perfect CV template. And I say perfect very intentionally because even ChatGPT said, yeah, this is a perfect CV. I'm not like, no cap. I'm not joking with you people. Okay, let's get into it. Step one, before we even start going into optimizing a CV or making sure that a CV template is perfect or the template you're using is perfect, there are a few ground rules that I want you to know and that I need you to know before you even get to the CV stage. The first part, we're talking about delusional ways to optimize your CV. And I say delusional because a lot of people wait for like to be perfect for the role, to be 100% what the role is looking for. Please, these people is a shopping list. Companies are shopping for the people that they think are perfect for a particular role. You must not be perfect. If you have 30% of what that role requires, if you have 40%, personally, I wait till I have like 40% of what a role requires and I'm applying. The first thing I'll say is that always wait till you're at least 40% qualified to apply for a role before you apply. If you're more confident, you can apply if you're like 20% qualified. Who knows? Who knows? You know, I'm not stopping you. The second thing that I feel people do is that people wait till they have real world experience. Personally, I don't think that that's necessary. If you did something in your university, if you did something when you were like in high school, if you did something in church, if you have just performed a role separate from like corporate environments, I feel that you should definitely put it in your job application. You should definitely find a way to make it. If you have done something that looks like what they are requesting for in a role, but it was not in a corporate environment, it definitely still counts. And I think that you should still include it when you're making your application. Keep it at the forefront of your mind, because when you're writing your CV and when you're tailoring your CV to a job description, it will be helpful because you have had experience in that thing, just not in a corporate environment. I need everybody to just open their minds. If you're applying for a job, you must not have done exactly what they are asking for in a job example. So a good example of this is that if they say, oh, have you held any leadership positions before? It is true that you may not have been a manager in corporate, right? But you are the first child in your family. That's management. Like, I definitely know that, like, elder sisters, you guys are going through it, right? I know that maybe you've led a team in church before. Maybe you've led a team when you were in high school. All those things matter and they definitely count as leadership experience. So please don't wait till you're like a manager in a corporate organization to put that, yes, you have leadership skills. Capiche? Okay. The next thing I'll say, and it goes without saying, is that you must tailor your CV. Every single CV that you bring out must be tailored for the job description that you're applying for. So let's say you're applying for project coordinator. You must have a project coordinator CV. You are not allowed to just use your random CV, a random CV with a different JD to apply for that project coordinator role. Two of them go hand in hand together. That's very important. So on this note, I want to explain something about CVs that you may or may not know. So your CV goes through two processes when you apply for a job. The first process is something called an ATS system. It's an applicant tracking system. So it is not a human being essentially. And the second one is it goes to a human being. So either a recruiter or a hiring manager or a hiring agent, whoever, right? So these two phases. The applicant tracking system is essentially where your CV passes through, multiple people's CVs will pass through a system to weed out the people that don't have the amount of keywords that that job description requires. Or if the system feels that you don't have enough keywords or enough experiences, it will just weed you out. And so a human being will not see your CV at all. But if your CV has all the keywords that that job description has, it will then pass your CV onto a human being. So in this video, I'm going to explain to you how to bypass an applicant tracking system and also how to make sure that when a human being sees your CV and when it lands on a human being's desk, you're going to get the call back. Okay? So the easiest way to bypass an applicant tracking system or ATS is to copy all the keywords in the job description. In fact, I'll go as far as saying just copy the entire job description, right? If you copy the entire job description, paste it in ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT, please bring out all the keywords in this job description that a candidate will need to have to apply for this role. It will then list all the keywords or possible keywords for you. And then when it lists out all the keywords for you, you then use those keywords on your CV. You use them in multiple parts. You sprinkle them around like equally. You're not just going to pack them in one job experience. No, you're going to put, let's say that ChatGPT brings out keywords like project management, coding, I don't know, different things like knows how to do market research, right? You would then put in your first job, oh, you also did market research here. You can repeat keywords if you want. Like, so let's say if you've done market research multiple times in different roles, you can put it in all the different roles. But a good tip is just one keyword per, one or two keywords, I'll say, per like experience, job description experience, right? On this note, I want to say that we don't need to see your face on your CV. Arrest me. Arrest me, officer. We do not need to see your face on your CV. Please don't put your picture on your CV because we're trying to reduce the avenue for bias as much as possible. So if you don't know what like an avenue for bias is, basically you don't want somebody to prejudge you before they even see you. What you want them to see is your qualifications and things that you have done. People even go as far as not putting their native names. People just use English names depending on the country that you live in, right? But personally, I feel strongly about my name and I've said this thing before, right? So I'm always going to lead with my name so that if that person is maybe racist or some has a bias against people from where I'm from, it's good. Let them not even come to me at the beginning. Do you get what I mean? But if it's something that you don't mind, then absolutely remove your name, put your English name if you want, but don't put your picture, please. Because what if that person is in a bad mood? What if you look like their ex? What will you do then? Something else I want to say, in case I have not said it, is that you need your CV to be just one page. I know this is controversial. I know you have 10 years of experience. I know you have like all these wonderful experiences you want to put, but not all your job experiences are valuable for every single role that you apply to. Let us sit with that for a moment. Not all your job experiences are valuable for every single role that you're applying for. Sometimes, I know that you've worked in 100 places, multiple places, and you want to just put in your CV. Think about it. Are you giving yourself an ego trip or are you actually applying for that role? Because it can be fun to say, oh, I've worked all these places. Now, why can't I put it? They must not be on your CV. Personally, the CV that even got me into the job that finally sponsored my visa, and this 2 times, I've gotten 2 jobs that were willing to sponsor me, and then I eventually chose one, right? It was because I took out all the things that were not necessary for that job role. Let's say that I've been a photographer in the past for another company, right? And this new job is asking for somebody that can be a project manager. Can you see that my photography experience does not tally with the project manager job? So what will I do? I will remove that experience entirely from the CV that I'm submitting for the project manager role. Does that make sense? Now that you know how to get past an ATS system with the keywords process, right? The next step is, how are you now going to get to a human being's desk, or how are you going to make sure that when your CV gets to a human being's desk that they are going to call you back? What you're going to need to do is to check the LinkedIn for the company. So in bracket terms, you're going to need to do your research. You're going to research the company itself, all the recent projects that they are doing, all the announcements that they've made, not just on their website, on LinkedIn, people that have tagged them before. Just research the company, research the hiring manager, research if it was a recruiter that called you, research the recruiter. Just research. You want to find out as much information as possible so that when you are now making your CV bio, because you're going to need a CV bio. I'm going to get to that eventually when we start discussing the templates, right? So you're going to make sure that you research the company, you know all the announcements they've made and everything, so that when you're crafting your CV bio, if you don't know what a CV bio is, it's essentially like a brief paragraph describing who you are, the roles you have done, what it means to you, you know, essentially. And you craft a CV bio by using the job description that the company has put forward. When you research the company and find out, let's say you see that, oh, they recently acquired a new company, or they recently acquired like a new company. This is a great example, actually. They recently acquired a new company and the company is in the technology space, or the company is into sustainable, they care about the environment, something like that. They are trying to be a more sustainable brand. In your bio, you can even add that, you know, that you're let's say they were looking for a creative strategist. You say, oh, you're a creative strategist, and, you know, one of the reasons you even want to join this company is because based on their recent purchase for their recent move to a more sustainable world, or caring about a more sustainable world or planet, you know, something like. You just need to make sure that the stories that you're seeing on LinkedIn or from your research are tallying with what you're putting on your CV. Because human beings are emotional. When they are reading it, they'll be like, oh, this person is up to date. Because think about it, if you're a hiring manager and you're seeing multiple CVs on your desk, right? People are submitting, like, I've been at the other end of like looking at people's CVs, and honestly, sometimes when I see what people submit, like, and I don't want you to be like that. That's why I'm having this one-on-one with you. You get what I mean? I'm just saying, you want your CV to be a breath of fresh air when it lands in front of somebody's desk. You may not be the perfect person for the job, but that CV is going to get you called in. period. You want your bio to make the human being feel an emotion. Be like, oh, I've been seeing a lot of trash CVs today, but this person even knows about our sustainability practice. This person even knows about this, that. Bear in mind, you also still have the keywords in all the job descriptions that you have explained, right? So now that I've given like a brief explanation of this CV bio page, let's move forward. Something else that I need you to put on your CV is in the contact section of your CV. There is no point in putting your home address. Please, do you want stalkers? Do you want people? You need to care about your safety more, please. The only thing that I need to see on your contact page is your phone number, the city that you live in, comma, the country, right? So London, comma, United Kingdom, Lagos, comma, Nigeria, right? Are we there? Okay. And then you put your LinkedIn, the link to your LinkedIn. It's not going to be the long link. You're going to make it a hyperlink. You're just going to put LinkedIn, and then it will be like a hyperlink for people to click on, and they can just go straight and view your LinkedIn and see all the things that you have been doing. And that is also a good way for them to also see other experiences that you have had that was not included in your CV. So anything that you cannot put on your CV, your LinkedIn will speak for you to that effect. Do you hear what I mean? So now that we have gotten the attention of the hiring manager and the person is actually looking at your CV, how do we make sure that they keep looking and they actually call you? So this is where we are now going to start talking about the other sections of a CV. Yes, you have done the contacts side of things. Yes, you have done the CV bio. Bear in mind, you can use ChatGPT to make different iterations of your CV bio with the job description. Plus, you can then feed ChatGPT all the things you found during your research and ask it to craft a 1-paragraph CV bio for you, right? Make sure it doesn't sound too ChatGPT. Make it still sound conversational and human-like, because it is a human being that you are communicating to, not a machine. And I can guarantee you that person has seen multiple ChatGPT iterations on their desk, and you don't want to just be another ChatGPT-fied CV. Do you get what I mean? Right. So now that we've done all those ones, the next thing to make sure is the job experiences that you put and how you put those job experiences, right? So the first thing to note about the job experiences you put is that you must tailor that job experience to what the job description is asking for. So you must mirror your job experience to what the job description is asking for. So how do I explain this? Essentially, yes, you may have done different things in a particular job role, right? But it's not every single thing you did in that job role that is necessary for you to put in the job description for every single job that you're applying to. So these people are looking for like a marketing and communications manager, right? And then the first experience on this CV says social media and CRM manager, right? The title of the job is bold, and then the location is under it with the date, beginning date and end date when you worked in that company. Your job title must not be on top of the company that you worked. It can be the other way around. So the company can be on top and the job title or the role that you fulfilled in that company will be under. It just depends on how important the company or the title is. So for example, for me, social media and CRM manager, it was more important for this role for me to highlight the actual job title than the company. Why? Because the company was a small company. If I worked in Google, or if I worked in like Microsoft, or if I worked in OpenAI, or any of all these like popular companies, Netflix, companies that people will essentially hire you because, oh, if you worked there, you essentially know things. So we're going to just hire you just because, right? Even though I know it's not just because, but we can't deny the fact that like the higher the influence of the company you work for, the higher your chances with like hiring managers. The game is the game. Like I'm not even knocking the game, but this is facts. This is the truth, right? So if you worked in Google, I'll put Google on top of my job title. So I'll put Google, and then under it, I'll then put social media and CRM manager. Then I'll put my start date and my end date. Does that make sense? Right, guys, if you purchase this CV template, you're going to understand more because I go in depth explaining everything and why we're doing things the way we're doing it. And then I also go slide by slide, explaining what you're going to see, what to expect, and, you know, how to just help you. I'm essentially holding your hand. So this video is just supposed to be like a brief overview of what is in this template, right? So for example, this job is looking for a marketing and communications manager, right? And then in the experiences, there's already a CV bio there, but that's not the point. We're looking at the experience. So the experience I have written down here is social media and CRM manager at Bot Recruitment, London, United Kingdom. 07/2022 to 02/2024, right? That's the duration. You can choose whichever way you want to write it, but you want to make sure that you're minimizing how you're saving as much space as possible, because remember, we're trying to condense things as much as possible and get more information. Anything, any line, any word you're putting in your CV must have value, must be meaningful. There's no time. You don't even have space to stutter in your CV. Every single sentence should be useful and should be hitting a point, if you get what I mean. So it's in bullet points. The first bullet points, even though it's in bullet points, right, it is still complete sentences. It is still well-structured sentences. So because something is in bullet points does not mean that you're now going to write something that doesn't make sense in English language. Do you get what I mean? Like, you're not going to make incoherent sentences or sentences that just don't make any sense, right? So the first point for this rule is that researched and implemented a cost-effective CRM system, streamlining workflow by 60%. So you see that 60% there is showing a measurable method, like it's showing a measurable achievement, something like that. I could have just said streamlining workflow, full stop. But you want them to know that, oh, it's measurable. When you now go for the interview, they will now ask you, oh, how do you know that you streamlined the workflow by 60%? I will now say, oh, okay, it used to take us X amount of days to sort out this particular issue. But after I streamlined this, our workflow, it started taking us a couple of hours as opposed to 4 days to handle this issue. And so by my calculations, that was like a 60% increase in like productivity. This is just a vague example, but you get what I mean. You want to make sure that the things that you're writing down are like measurable. So another good example is reduced vacancy posting time from 16 to 6 hours, optimizing applicant tracking by 50%. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know it sounds very corporate speak, but I'm telling you, if you start putting numbers to the things that you're doing, they're going to call you back. It's just a matter of time, but they're essentially going to call you back. Like, guys, I'm not joking. Then something else you want to be very careful doing in like your experience part is to show progression. You don't want to write in your first job experience, you've already written and called yourself a manager. Then in your 6th job experience, even though I'm not seeing why you need 6 job experiences, and your CV should not ideally have space for CV job experiences, except if it's one line each that you're explaining those job experiences, in which case I'll say you're not even doing them enough justice. Do you get? It's a balance of, you don't want it to be too short, but you don't want it to be too long, right? So this one, so for example, for this progression thing that I'm explaining to you now, this one says started as part-time and transitioned to full-time in 2023 due to outstanding performance, full stop, right? On the template, you will see that some words are even bolded on the CV. So you want your CV to be skimmable. If I've not said this yet, like, you want your CV to be very skimmable. You want, when somebody looks at your CV, they can see all the parts of it. They can see every single thing. I'm looking here because the CV is literally open here. The CV template is open here, and you want it to be skimmable. Immediately somebody sets eyes on your CVs, there's a few words jumping at them. So as I'm looking at this CV that is for a marketing and communications manager, a few things are jumping out to me. So experience profile, contact education, skills and tech stack. And then in the job experience section, the things that are bolded out to me are like, oh, 60%, 16 to 6 hours, 50%, bought app, part-time, full-time, 2023, dates. Do you get? Like, if somebody is not even in the mood to read, you're making it easy for their brain to process what you have written in your CV. Do you get what I mean? I hope that I've explained this experience side. But essentially, for this experience, a summary is that you want to show progression, you want to show measurable analytics, and then you want very short and sweet explanations, complete sentences, coherent sentences, but short enough that they are easy to read, but long enough that they make sense. I hope that makes sense. The next point I have is that there has to be white space on your CV. So you see what I'm saying about having a limited amount of job experiences on your CV. You need to make sure that there is white space. There's enough space that is not looking too cluttered, but is also not looking too scanty. Is a very good balance. Before, I used to have a CV that was too cluttered because I felt I needed to put everything and they must see all the things, but that's not necessary at all. And let me tell you, this CV has been a banger multiple times. This template, chef's kiss, like, I'm not even joking at all. The next part that we're going to talk about is education. I've seen people write their secondary school on their CVs. I've seen people write their undergraduates in their CVs. And to that, I will say that I don't think you need to put all your education on your CV, except if you are a recent graduate. But even at that, I definitely think it's not something you should do. I used to do it in the past, but as I said before, this template has gone through multiple iterations and I've come to this conclusion. You put the education that is valuable to the job description that you're applying for, right? Or the most recent one. It depends. So let's say that I'm applying for like this job now for this template is a marketing and communications manager, right? My education, if I have gone to like the chartered institution of marketing or something, that is the education that I'm going to put on this CV, and I'm going to put the dates. The good thing about this education and like either putting the most relevant education or the most earliest one. Let's say I went to Chartered Institute of Marketing, right? And I went there in 2024. I'll put 01 2024 till, I don't know, 31st December 2024 as like 1 year of going into the Chartered Institution of Marketing, and I'll put it there. Even though that I have a master's degree in something else and I have an undergraduate degree in something else, it is not relevant to this job that I'm applying for. Does that make sense? Something else I want to point out is that if you're in a new country, right? Let's say, for example, I migrated from Nigeria to the UK. I'm not going to put my Nigeria education on my CV. I'm going to put the UK one. So I'll put in this template now, it says Oxford University, MSc Molecular Microbiology, 01 2021 to 01 2023 in brackets, right? That is all that I put on the CV. It's very condensed because I don't have any like marketing degrees. I put the most relevant, not the most relevant, the most recent education that I've had, like formal education. And I also put Oxford University because it is in the UK. So anybody seeing this thing knows that, okay, this person is in the UK, this person went to school in this country, so they are acclimatized or they will know how things function in this country. So just be very mindful about that when you're doing your education part as well. I hope I've explained that properly. The next portion of the template that we're going to dissect is the skills and technology stack. So not everybody will have a skills and technology stack. It may be called something else on your own CV. So for example, if you're a software developer, you may write something like languages, I don't know how to put it, maybe languages you code in or languages that you work with, and then you list all the languages under there. Again, it should be very brief, very direct, very straight to the point. Honestly, guys, just purchase these templates because I'm explaining this thing. I'm trying my best to explain it as on like without giving you like a visual example of what I'm saying, without giving too much away. So, but I'll just say like, yeah, purchase this template. I don't know, fast forward. The skills and tech stack. So for example, for this marketing and communications role now, I put skills and tech stack. I have a line for like marketing, and then under marketing, I have put content strategy and development. Bear in mind, all these things are what even made us to pass ATS system in the first place. And also when a human being is then looking at it, they can see that, oh, we're looking for a marketing and communications person. And then they have listed in their JD that they want the person to be able to know how to do content strategy, social media management, media relations and PR, brand development and other things, right? And that is why I have just listed them here as like my marketing skills, right? And then technology and software, because oftentimes a job description will come with like the technology you must know. Sometimes they say you must have experience with a CRM, you must have experience with HubSpot, you must have experience with Salesforce, you must have experience with different other things that they list, right? And so in the tech and software part, I put CRM systems, HubSpot, Salesforce, marketing automation, MailChimp, Meta Business Suite, and like different things, HTML, Python, CMS and web development, you know, design and video editing, Photoshop, Final Cut Pro X, Canva, project management, you know, different things like that. So your marketing stack will be essentially, for this example, it is called a marketing skill stack. But for the one that you're doing, if you're like into software, it will be called like maybe software. Do you know what I mean? You may not even need to have like technology and software separate. For me in this template, I have two separate ones because I know different job descriptions have different portions to it. So even though like let me say an accounting job now will need you to know different accounting books like QuickBooks, it will need you to have experience in Excel, know how to do all these things, but then you still need to add your technology and software because in this day and age, everybody uses tech and software. You need to show that you can use Microsoft 365, even though like at this point, I don't even know that people still put like Microsoft 365, like proficient in Microsoft Office suites. Like I think people still put it. It's not a bad thing to put. Like you can if you want, like you could put it if you wanted to, but just make sure that the things that you're putting are things that are very specific to job description and that are very useful for that job description. Do you get what I mean? Yeah. There's no perfect CV for every job on earth. There is a perfect CV for a perfect job description. And that's how I want you to be thinking from today onwards, right? There's a perfect CV for a particular job description, and going forward, that's what you need to have in mind, and that's what you need to keep doing. So I hope this video has been at least insightful for you to create your own CV. And if you feel that, oh, with this information you cannot create your own templates, then please purchase my template. It's in the link in my description box, and you're not going to regret it at all, because honestly, there have been blood, sweat and tears into the iteration of this CV. And even recruiters, I've had recruiters come back to me and be like, oh, like this was a very good CV, or this was a very good, just the package all around. And I really hope that you guys find it as useful and use it to the best of its ability. Again, if you purchase the template, you're going to be able to contact me if you want one-on-one like consultation, or talking about like your CV and the job description that you want to apply for. There's also going to be a link in my bio to it. But honestly, I think that with just the template, you will be good to go, because it's very self-explanatory, and you're even going to be wondering, oh my god, why didn't I think about this? Because I don't know. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, please click on this playlist here. I have so many videos that will be useful to you. And yeah, I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys.